Next tonight, the new reporting out of Washington. A former Department of Justice official says she was terminated one day after refusing to restore actor Mel Gibson's rights to carry a gun, a request from the Deputy Attorney General's office. The actor, who is a vocal supporter of President Trump, lost the right to gun access after a domestic violence misdemeanor in 2011. Federal law bars people convicted of crimes from owning or purchasing handguns. However, new leadership in the Justice Department has signaled they have planned to change that. Two law enforcement officials telling NBC News, quote, no system has been set up to review and approve gun rights restoration applications, but there have been talks to have the Attorney General immediately begin restoring rights to a preset list of people in the meantime. Our next guest is at the center of this. Joins us now tonight, former U.S. pardon attorney Liz Oyer. Liz, we thank you for joining Top Story tonight. Your spokesperson said you were not given an official reason for termination. So walk me through why you believe you were fired.
Thank you very much for having me, Tom. I was not provided with any reason to explain why I was fired. I was given a very brief memo stating that I was terminated effective immediately. But what happened the day before was that I was involved in the situation that you described at the start of your segment, in which I had been asked to make this recommendation to the Attorney General to restore the firearm rights of Mr. Gibson, and I declined to do so. And I had a feeling at the time that not processing that request and not making that recommendation that was being asked of me was something that was likely to have the result of, if not, ending in my termination, something that would likely get me excluded from further conversations on that issue in the Department of Justice.
Liz, a lot of our viewers probably are not familiar with your role or how a pardon attorney works. Talk to me a little bit about how long you've been in that role in the department and what inside of you compelled you to say no when asked of this request.
So the role of the Office of the Pardon Attorney is one that's not necessarily widely understood. The primary function of the office and what it was created to do is to provide advice to the president about granting clemency to individuals who are seeking second chances. The function of the office is to ensure that people who do not have political connections, who do not have access to the White House through the front door, who can't afford pricey lawyers and lobbyists, that those people can still have the opportunity to get their cases for clemency in front of the president. So
can I pause you right there?
Yeah, sure.
So someone like Mel Gibson is usually not on your radar.
That's right. There are certain people who are always going to be able to make their case directly to the president or to the attorney general for some kind of relief. And the function of my office is to ensure that those who don't have that kind of direct access aren't marginalized from the system, that they still have a chance to be heard and have a chance for their cases to be considered.
And then what happened with the Mel Gibson paperwork or the request, I should say?
So the request began as one to identify regular citizens who might be eligible for this type of relief that the Attorney General wanted to begin providing. And I made a number of recommendations about ordinary citizens who had been extensively vetted, who had committed nonviolent crimes many, many years ago, who I believed could be suitable for that type of relief because they had been through an extremely thorough background investigation, the type of investigation that you would have to go through to get a top secret security clearance. And at the last minute, I was told, please add Mel Gibson to this list of people that you are recommending.
And what happened then? What did you think?
Well, honestly, my heart sank when I got that request. I felt a pit in my stomach because I knew that I was being told to do something that I would never on my own recommend. Just based on the information that was available to me, I did not believe that Mr. Gibson was someone that I could recommend for this type of relief.
The department, an official with the department familiar with the matter, telling NBC News this, quote, the Mel Gibson decision did not play a role in the termination decision. This official spoke on the condition of anonymity. The paperwork was done before the Mel Gibson email went out. But a second senior official told NBC News your termination is, quote, part of a very concerning set of personnel moves across the federal government and at DOJ, quote, I should say, end quote, in which officials who might act as checks on abuse of power were being ousted. Do you think you were terminated in direct connection to this Mel Gibson decision to not grant that order?
Like I said, I was not provided with the reason for my termination. And in fact, I've never met Todd Blanche, who signed the paperwork terminating me. But what I can say is that I had met with members of his staff who made this request of me, and I was left, based on those conversations, with the impression that if I did not fulfill the request, there would be consequences. I spent the Thursday night, I was terminated on Friday. I spent Thursday night sleepless, just unbelievably stressed and concerned about how to proceed. And when I arrived in the office Friday morning, I spoke with a trusted colleague about the matter, and I was advised, find a way to yes, because the only way that you will survive here is if you find a way to say yes. And she wasn't telling me to compromise my principles. She was suggesting that if I couldn't find a way to say yes or yes but and persuade them that there were other factors that needed to be considered, then, I wasn't likely to survive in this role. I told another colleague that morning that I just had this sinking feeling that Mel Gibson was going to be my downfall. And hours later, I received a letter advising me that I was terminated, and I was escorted out of the building by security officers.
What is your message maybe to other federal workers, and what did you learn from this?
I've learned a lot from it. The last several weeks, I believe it's been about 7 weeks under the new administration in the Department of Justice, have felt like, frankly, 2 years. It's been just an incredibly stressful environment in which to be working. Discussion and discourse of the type that I'm familiar with in the Department of Justice has been shut down effectively because people are scared. People are scared to voice their opinions because there's an understanding that dissent will be punished. People are afraid to raise objections. People are afraid to do anything other than say yes. So it was just a working environment that was really becoming untenable. And as much as I wanted to stay and fulfill the mission of our office and protect my team, it really was honestly just a relief to wake up on Saturday morning and know that I don't have to go back there anymore.
Former U.S. Pardon Attorney Liz Oyer, we thank you for joining Top Story tonight.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.